What's going on, collective listeners? Welcome back to another episode of the Samson Strength Coach Collective podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Grasso. Today, we are joined by Derek Ward. He is the founder of Upward Human Performance here in Milford, Connecticut. We go way back. It's a great podcast. Honestly, it was full of a ton of insight, ton of wisdom, and he's got a great way of articulating and being able to take the symbolisms from the stories and the experiences that he has, and obviously, try to implement them in a very practical manner to a lot of the different age groups and obviously different coaching personalities that we have on this platform and the coaches and the people who are listening. So enjoy this one. What's going on, collective listeners? Welcome back to another episode of the Samson Strength Coach Collective podcast. Today, my man, Derek Ward, is here to join us, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and obviously tell his story. But this is an awesome episode, specifically for me. Derek and I go way back. I won't give like the whole story because we'll probably get into it as we get into the podcast. But real good family friend and a real good dude. So I'm really excited to have him on. Let's get this thing going. Derek, what's going on, man? How are you? Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and if you want to really take us through your story, man, I know you got a great one, and obviously you can take us as far back as you'd like, and then obviously build us into what you're up to now and how everything's going there.
Yeah, thanks, Ant. First of all, thanks for considering me for this opportunity and just bringing me on here, man. Like you mentioned, me and you go way back. As far back to when we were in a predicament at another gym that is no longer around. So we won't.
I was wondering if that was going to get brought up. I thought about it. I'm like, should I bring that up? Should I not? I don't even know.
Man, it's funny because both of our journeys and stories has been so non-traditional, and we've seen like every single aspect of a trainer or a strength conditioning coach, from the collegiate sector to the private sector and everything in between. So it's really cool that our experiences together, we've seen a lot of different angles, and it makes for a pretty unique experience. But
sure.
again, thank you, man. Yeah, but I'm Derek Ward. I own Upward Human Performance in Milford, Connecticut. We are a private strength and conditioning focused facility. We work with a lot of youth athletes, ages 7 and 8, to Division I full scholarship athletes, boys, girls, everybody in between. And we work with a lot of adults, moms, dads, 25, 26-year-olds to 50-year-olds, back pain, knee pain. So we kind of have a really wide net in terms of the people that we serve, but we're really niched down in terms of holistic strength and conditioning. We're kind of a no frills, no fluff style. Everything's free weight, everything's mobility focused, everything's stability focused. And that's just how we rock here. I've owned this company for going on 5 years now, which is actually crazy. Before that, I played college football at Amherst College. I was a defensive back there for 4 years. We were 3 years back-to-back champions, 2 years undefeated, broke a couple of records, had one of the best defenses in the country, and that was a fun time. And then before that, I went to Choate Rosemary Hall, did a post-grad year there as a football player, and then in high school, I was a quarterback and had a really interesting journey through high school. And that's really what catapulted me to do everything that I do now. I'm sure we'll get into it, but a pretty unique experience through high school and a lot of negative experiences. But the ability, kind of the foundation that I had to build off of that enabled me to not let it break me, but build me. My older brother was a 2-time All-American, full scholarship track and field athlete. He went to Duke University on a full ride, was Duke's first track and field full scholarship athlete. Over there, he was number 14th in the nation, All-American. He was that guy. And so having him to look up to and see his path was, he was my idol. And I wanted to shape and model my life after what I saw him do. So that's kind of what catapulted my training experience. I started training myself when I was 13 on YouTube, searching speed training and agility and ladder drills. And it's like, I don't know anything else other than that. Like, I don't know if ladders are good or not. It's just do ladder drills, man. Like 24/7. That was the thing.
Absolutely.
And we all know how that goes now, but that's just how I learned. And I didn't have many friends. My dad was very strict, so there was no partying or going out or none of that. So all I had was workout. And so I would just deep dive into YouTube, and I found this website. I still sometimes look for it, but it was like the best website in the world for exercises. And it was like so weird and like knockoff, but it had like, you could pick a body part and it would give you like 100 exercises. And I'm like, I sometimes still look for it, but like, that's all I was doing at 12 years old was like bicep workouts, calf workouts, hamstring workouts. And that's when I was 12 and 13. So fast forward till now, I've always been a student of trying to learn and be the best version of myself. And, now that we've grown as a company, I have coaching staff, I have, systems and all that jazz to really continue serving the best that we can in our community. So
Right.
it's been a lot of fun. It's been a wild ride, but there's been lots of hurdles and stuff in between that we'll get into. But that's a brief background on me, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, was that website the one that was it like XL Athlete? Was it the Cal Dietz website, or is it one that was like more like bodybuilding based or something like that? Because I remember XL Athlete was like Bry showed me that he was like, yeah, you could just go on here and you feel pretty much like find anything, right? Like it was like this deep database. But
That
yeah,
might
I
have
don't
been
know.
it. After this, I'm gonna check because I still to this day look for it. It was like,
Yeah, yeah. There were a few of those out there because I
yeah,
remember like when I first started too, like we kind of like check those out. But I remember it was like, XL Athlete was like one of them for just like that was more like movement based stuff. It was like you could like look like movements up, you know what I mean? But that is funny. Well, to go back to one thing that you talked about, obviously, and not to, jog up like negative experiences, but you talked about having some negative experiences. And I'm sure that those things obviously, significantly or at least hold some weight in your life now and obviously who you've become now. So would love for you if you're open to it, and obviously you want to touch on some of those experiences because I'm sure there's coaches and athletes who are listening to this podcast that may be experiencing the same things, and would love to hear how you overcome those things.
yeah. I mean, going as far back as when I was really young, my parents were divorced, and my dad was a very young father. He had my older brother when he was 17, my mom was 14, and
Mm,
they had me when they were 20 and 23. So as I'm growing up as a toddler, I have very, very young parents who have two kids who are working two jobs and just trying to make ends meet.
right,
And that experience for me, my dad always took care of us, and my mom, she was there, but it just wasn't as stable as we would have hoped. And when they got divorced, and there was you know all the negative detriment of divorce that we went through,
sure,
it started to shape me consciously and subconsciously. So as I was growing up as a kid, there was a lot of anger there was a lot of abandonment issues, and the training in the gym was my therapy. I
sure,
would go to the gym. I was learning this stuff because it would take my mind off of this. It would give me an outlet to not be angry and internalize that. It saved me from a lot of things in my past, self-harm or things like those. It saved me from going into depression. It saved me from wanting to quit. If I didn't have training, if I didn't have the gym, you know, I don't know where I would be. And yeah, I played football, and I've always loved the outlet and game of football because it's physical, and I would take out my anger on the field. I would go hit people, and it was great.
sure, yeah,
But I always loved the training aspect. I've always loved the fact that you can go into a place, put headphones on, and forget the world. And
sure,
so, that was the first big thing for me is, being able to have this outlet and being able to use it as a tool to build myself up emotionally, physically, mentally, and all those things. And then as I, grew up and I still had a lot of those issues, I was bullied a lot, eighth grade and beyond in high school, because as you know, high school is toxic. And when you're vocal, as a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid and confident, you know, kids don't like that.
right,
You're a threat. There's haters. They don't like
yeah,
that. And so I was a very vocal. Not that I was going around tooting my own horn, but I was saying like, yeah, I'm gonna play college football one day. As a freshman in high school, I'm gonna play college football. Yeah, I'm gonna be a captain of
sure,
this team. I'm gonna ball. We're gonna win. Like I was like that because I've always had conviction like that. And when you're like that, people don't like that. Even adults, as you know, people don't like that because
right,
it touches on their insecurities. So I know that now, and I don't shut up now. I'm still confident because it works for me, right? And I'm humble and modest. But like Drew Brees once said, like, if you get to know Drew Brees and hear his story, like he's one of the most humble, modest, like you don't ever hear of him anywhere in social media or the news. Like he's low key. But
yeah,
when it comes to competition, if you ask him, "Are you going to win?" He's like, "It's yes, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. We're
yeah,
going to win, and we're champions." And so I've always had that mindset of like, you put me in that scene, we're going to win. I'm going to compete. I'm going to win. But I mean,
sure,
I'm not going to go around being cocky about it. So that's kind of how I was in high school. And I was bullied a lot for it. I was stuffed in lockers, right? Eighth
jeez,
grade, after a basketball game, these two kids put me in a locker and locked it, and then couldn't find the coach. The coach had to come unlock the door, and all the
yeah,
kids were laughing, right? I was
mm,
slapped around. Hey, yo, come, let's slap box. Let's slap box. They're juniors and seniors, and I'm a freshman, and they're like smacking me in the face, and I'm literally running down the hall. Like
mm,
all these experiences. I'm the quarterback. So I'm like, hey guys, let's go after school for an hour and like throw. Like I want to work on my throwing. Let's run routes. Like want to win a state championship.
mm,
And oh, you're this, you're that, all types of names game calling. I'll never forget my senior year. No, scratch that. My junior year, I went to the bathroom during assembly, and I walked into the stall, and right where I saw in the stall says Derek Ward is a, and you can fill in the blank. I'm black. You can fill in the blank. And
Fair.
all those experiences through high school, I'm like, this is insane. Again,
Fair.
the training, the football was an outlet. It was a tool that I used for myself to build myself up because it was the one place where I could be in control of my own destiny. No matter what anybody said, no matter what anybody did, there was still a level of control that I could have, right?
Mm.
Another thing happened. My head football coach. Again, I'm junior, senior. I'm going to camps and going to combines, and I'm getting recruited. And not snail mail like Georgetown was sending me handwritten letters, like BC was sending me handwritten letters. I was going to camps, going to combines, texting, calling coaches, and I was going into my senior year, and Villanova and Vanderbilt reached out. And I remember being like, I don't know, my sixth or seventh game into my football season, my senior year, and uncovering the letters in my AD's office, who was also the head football coach. Because I just happened to go in his office and was like, just for whatever reason. And letters are sitting there, weeks old. And I'm like, yo, you didn't open them. And so I opened them, my
Mm.
name is on it, and you didn't even like let me know. Like right there, as anybody knows in football, like coaches aren't waiting around for you. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't even want to know what else other opportunities that I lost. But again, I stepped back and I said, look, I can either be angry and hate this, or I can continue to train and work to better myself. And then the really big thing that happened in high school was, senior year, second week of practice, I snapped my ankle. I was going in my senior year. Holy Cross, Georgetown, Bucknell, and BC were like my big ones that I was really in close contact with. They were coming to see me and stuff like that. And I was in the best shape of my life. I was training my tail. I felt like I went in my senior year like I am ready.
Mm.
And second week of practice, snapped ankle, done, gone for 8 games, season right
Mm.
there, over. And I'm like, I remember just literally like having to vomit because my ankle hurt. And then
Yeah.
like later on that evening when I finally got home and then, we had the boot on and stuff like that, just like bawling my eyes out. And I told my dad, I'm like, I need to go to the football field. And I just left. And it was like 9 o'clock at night. And I'm sitting there on the field, just bawling my eyes out. Like,
Mm.
this is it. Like it's done. Like everything I've worked up to since I was 12, right? All the sacrifices, all the parties I said no to, all the friends I said no to, all the girlfriends that I said no to, all the Fridays and Saturday nights sitting inside watching Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, and everybody else is out going to this party, that party. And I'm sitting at home like playing video games, watching TV, just because that was all there was for me to do, and all that sacrifice. And then now it's just gone.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my dad, I'm a man of faith. So I tell my dad, like, I need prayer, man. Like I need to, like, I want to have faith through this process. And I remember just giving it all up to God and saying, God, like, I don't know what this plan is for. And I don't have the greatest relationship with you, but like, I just hope that this is for a reason. I hope that this is for something. And that
Mm.
mindset of being able to have that faith and that mindset to be able to say, like, I can still control my destiny up to a point. I can still reframe my mindset. I can still reframe the actions that I take now to alter the path that I go on now. And that mindset, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and wallow. 24 hours, 24-hour rule. I still live by it
Yeah.
today. My wife, my kids, our coaches, our kids that we train. You get 24 hours to
Mm.
wallow, to sulk, to cry, whatever. After that, it's time to get to work. After that, it's
Yeah.
time to take action. So I gave myself 24 hours and I'm like, all right, now back to the drawing board. What can I do? I can't practice, I can't play. So I'll just go to the gym 5 days a week and I'll work on my upper body and I'll work on my left leg. And then
Mm.
you get the boot off and my left leg's this big, my right leg's this big. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I still want to win games. I still want to go to a championship. So I'll just teach the backup. So I'm out there on the field 2 weeks into having this boot and a snapped ankle. And I'm trying to teach my backup how to drop back pass and how to read and like, hey, we got to throw it like this and working on his mechanics, and doing everything I can to still show up for my team. And that experience and taking those negatives and, like I said, the storms in life, it produced the greatness that I had for myself. It produced a level of leadership. It produced a level of resiliency. It produced a level of control over my circumstances. It produced a level of faith. It
Mm.
produced a lot of positives because I noticed them and then I worked on them. And I took that opportunity. And that's what catapulted me to Choate, which changed my life, a boarding school. I'm
Mm.
like, boarding schools, like what? Like this is some Hogwarts type stuff. Literally. I'm like, I don't know what boarding schools are, man, but like this
Yeah.
is dope. And that's what propelled me to go to Amherst College. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. It's got like a 5% acceptance rate. Like the football and my leadership and my experience and my story is what got me in those doors. And then it
Mm.
led me to working at a Fortune 250 company. And then it led me to being able to quit that company and have the courage to set out on a unknown path because I'm the first business owner of my family. I'm first generation college. No one's ever done this stuff and make it on my own. And it's those experiences that have been able to catapult me to those things and the way that I live my life now. And what I try to teach kids and talk to my coaches and my mentor, my coaches about, it's like, look, we can train all day long. You can run a 4.340. You can jump a 40-inch vert. You can bench 500. Like, you can do all those things. That's cool. But what happens when life smacks you in the mouth? What
Mm.
happens when you get into an environment where you're left to your own devices? What happens when you don't have your parent and your sibling and your counselor and your mentor just looking over you and you're on your own? What happens when everything that you work toward literally gets taken from you?
Right.
What happened a few years ago? Like what's going to happen then? Because it's going to happen, guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, guaranteed. It's
Yeah.
not it's
Oh
not
yeah.
it's not if, it's when. And
Yeah.
that's what makes or breaks people, is those
Yeah.
circumstances. That's where I feel like people get tripped up and never reach their fullest potentials, never being able to take those battles and embrace those battles and be willing to go through and say, all right, this sucks, 24 hours. And now what can I learn? What can I do to try to alter my path now? and
Sure.
and that's how I've been able to build our gym in my life now, is on those principles of being willing to fail, be willing to have those circumstances happen, but then
Mm.
repivot, refocus, and evaluate yourself and how you think and how you're reacting, and
Mm.
then use that as a tool to grow and level up. And then you get on the other side and you're like, damn, like I just leveled up again. Oh,
Yeah.
bad circumstances, great opportunity. Wow, I just leveled up again.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's like you're talking about the difference between like kind of being like, hey, this is who I am versus choosing who you want to be, right?
Mhm.
So obviously, you talked about having a ton of circumstances that you've had to overcome, and all those stories are obviously, I mean, like, I mean, the getting stuff in the locker thing, like I know that sounds like something like very minimal, but it's not. It's like it's traumatizing for a kid your age at that particular point in time. You know what I mean? So, bullying has its own issues, right? Like there's their own consequences that come from that, but yeah, I'd love you to talk a little bit more about, kind of that concept of like, because I think a lot of the people, and it's not just people that like we work with or whatever. I think it's just like a general societal thing where there is this like understanding of, or this like complacency with like, oh, well, just, I mean, this happened to me, and it's like, all right, like this is who I am now, and this is what, what I mean. This is just what, this is what I'm going to be, and that kind of thing. And there's almost like this feeling of like, digging yourself out of a hole is almost like an improbable feat, right? Whereas like, that's literally what life is kind of built around, right? So would love you to kind of like tie that into like how you've structured learning a lot, and you've taught me a lot about business, you know what I mean, the business side of sport performance, right? I mean, so yeah, I would love to kind of talk a little bit about the idea of like choosing who you want to be as opposed to just accepting some of the things that come your way, and how you've kind of tied that into how you've built out this business and the company that you're running now.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I don't want to sound too cliche, but it really does all come down to mindset. And I've been on a really deep dive of studying mindset, philosophy, and even the Bible, and what what all this wisdom has to say about how you think. And there's a quote in the Bible that says, how a man thinketh, so will he be,
Mm.
essentially. Right? I'm paraphrasing, but essentially, it's around this concept. And there's been tons of leaders and legends in the past that have had different quotes or sayings of, however you think, that's who you are, and how you think is who you will become. And
Sure.
I strongly believe that how you think about circumstances, how you think about life, how you think about positives, how you think about negatives can drastically alter your course. You can have a circumstance happen to you and think it's the worst thing in the world. Well, then guess what? It's going to be the worst thing in the world. You
Mm.
can think about that circumstance and think this is opportunity. It doesn't change how you feel, right? Like we need to separate feelings and emotions and thoughts,
Sure.
because feelings and emotions are fleeting. They come and go. But thoughts and how we think, those stay with us. And those are conscious and subconscious. So
Mm.
we have to be able to separate and differentiate between emotions. Okay, this is what I'm feeling, but is it true? I'm feeling angry, but am I actually angry or am I just reacting right now? Let me give it time. I'm really
Sure.
sad right now. Am I actually sad or is this just a reaction? Because this stuff
Sure.
goes all the way back to childhood, and like you're talking about trauma and circumstances and psychology and chemicals and you know crazy stuff. that people that
Yeah.
experts still are trying to uncover. And I think it all comes down to this concept of how you think you will be.
Mm.
Wherever your mind goes, you will follow.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter what circumstances you are in, because if you think a certain way right here, right now, and then you end up, say, quitting your job or moving to somewhere else, you're still taking that with you. And it
Sure.
wasn't the job, it wasn't the environment, it wasn't the school, it was you all along.
Yeah. Right.
And wherever you go, because you see this now in like the transfer portal. I saw a post earlier today. I'm entering the transfer portal. I'm just like, this concept of like the grass is always greener, right? And there's
Mm.
nothing wrong with trying to work on your opportunity, but we live in a time right now, and especially kids, where we're always trying to look for what can give us the best. And we're always so entitled to, and this is something in business too, we feel like we're entitled to success and we're entitled to succeeding. And you and I both know, like, you're entitled to nothing, to squat, to
Zero.
zero. And it's this mindset shift that I think that is super critical in today's day and age, especially as the future goes the way it's going, and AI and online and just crazy nonsense.
Mm.
People need to reshape their mindset from what can I take to what can I give. And what's funny, especially in business, is the more that you give, the more value you give for free with no expectation in return, the more money you make. When you're
Yeah.
an athlete on the team, and say you're not even the starter, the more you give to that team, the more leadership you give, the more confidence you give, the more skills you give, the more help you give, the more conversations you have. It just so happens you'll become a better player.
Mm.
The more that you give as a staff or an employee, the more that you give that gym owner, the more you give your clients, the more that you just give and don't expect anything in return, the more success that you have. And it's this crazy concept that we've lost of what can I take, what can I take, what can I take, to what can I give? Well, how can I
Sure.
serve? How can I produce value? Because people are always looking for value in return, in exchange. And the service providers or the coaches or the athletes, we need to be able to give that value first and foremost, and over delivering, and have
Mm.
that go giver mentality. And
Sure.
then it just so happens that the byproduct of that is you get everything you want in return, and tenfold, without it even happening, or without you even
Right.
trying. And that's the crazy concept that we're missing right now. I feel like when we're talking about all these circumstances and trying to be successful in a particular field or industry or whatever.
Mm. So I think like the one thing that you touched on that I think is interesting is the idea that, and I forget, like, I think it was one of my buddies told me this one time. It was like, yeah, like this guy was going through like all the good and bad things that have happened to him or whatever recently, right? And the guy's like sitting there and he's like, yeah, this happened to me and this was bad. And the guy was like, maybe. And he was like, yeah, this happened to me and this was like really good or whatever. And he's like, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And he's like, this happened to me and I didn't really feel anything about it or whatever. And he's like, maybe, you know. And I think that really like what it comes down to is like understanding that like we are kind of like along this trajectory, and you kind of have to take, it's a little bit more of like a stoic approach. Of course, like you said, you're gonna feel things. You're gonna feel that, right? Like you're gonna feel whatever it is that you want to feel, and whatever it is that you're feeling. But at the same time, like being able to kind of decipher between like what's important, what isn't important, how to stay composed, how to obviously deal with these particular things. But I think that that's an important thing, at least for me. You know what I mean? To be able to kind of understand that like everything that happens kind of is, it just like see it as a standalone situation, right? We're always trying to connect dots. We're always trying to make sense of things, fit it into our story, right? And I think that that's really tough to do. But I really like the point you made about providing value, right? Like, so getting into that stuff right now, right? It's like, especially for like all young strength coaches and just like interns in general, it can be really, really, it's a tough dichotomy to think like that I'm providing value for free, right? Because obviously like you feel like you're worth something and you feel like you have something to offer and you feel like you should be compensated for that. Even if it's just for the standalone fact that you just need to be compensated in order to exist in this life, right? So obviously kind of going with that mindset though, like that's built you into this this person where you've obviously been able to overcome all of these things and obviously build out this company that you're building out now, and obviously like you just bought a new space, like you have all this stuff going on. So yeah, why don't we get into some of that stuff, or talk about like what you guys are doing, where this whole thing started, kind of, and like where it's at now, what the plans are for the future, if you're willing to divulge some of that information. But we'd love to really highlight your successes right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. Before I get into that, one quick thing you said too about the situation is like every situation is neutral. Every
Yeah.
situation, it comes out neutral. It's neither good nor bad. It's just neutral.
Right.
How you think about it determines if it's good or bad. So like
Right.
you said,
Right.
oh, that thing happened, it was good. It was actually neutral, but you decided that it was good.
Right.
Because there's been a lot of really negative circumstances in my life, a lot that I can't even disclose on this podcast, but I can look back and say those are good things that happened. They didn't
Sure.
feel good.
Yeah.
They weren't good to a lot of people, but to me, they were good.
Right.
They were good for me, So,
Yeah.
this concept of neutrality in every situation is that kind of like stoic philosophy approach, which helps a ton.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going back into, more of the business side of young coaches, you know, me and you have talked about this a lot over the past. It's tough because we work in an industry where it's normal to work 90 hours a week and make a few $100. It's almost like you have to give all of yourself 7 days a week, sun up to sundown, and that it's like expected.
Right.
And none of that's true. And I came into the private sector basically saying, I don't believe in any of that. I don't think that it's healthy. And it's also why most strength and conditioning coach get in and get out or burn out. Is because
Right.
this concept of, hey, this is how the industry goes. If you're a strength conditioning coach, you make pennies, you work a ton, and that's just what you need to do. So
Right.
I want to kind of disclose that because I talked about like providing value, not expecting anything in return, but it isn't in a way where you're expected to not, to not quantify your worth. Right.
Right.
My coaches, I pay here very well. I pay them more than they're going to find in the area, I hope. I
Yeah.
provide them opportunity, and I want them to make full-time income with benefits. I want them to make 50, 60, 70 grand with benefits, with stability, not work Sundays, work half days on the weekends,
Sure.
which is what they do. But in order to get there and in order to earn that, we work in a service-based industry. We work in an industry where we're working with human beings, face-to-face relationships. I tell
Sure.
them all the time, and for young coaches and gym owners out there, we don't work in a fitness industry. We don't work in the strength and conditioning industry. That's not the industry we work in. We work in the help industry. We work in
Yeah.
the relationship industry. We work in the communication industry. We work in the accountability industry. That's the industry that we work in. And when your mindset can shift from, oh, I'm a coach, or, I work in a gym, or I program, to I help people. I hold people accountable. I build relationships. I'm building community. When
Sure.
you shift your mindset there, your actions and your words and your attitude follow suit. And
Right.
the work, the programming, the coaching on the floor, the follow-up isn't the work. It's just, hey, this is what I do because I love helping people. And the
Right.
more that you can help people, the more money you can make, the more impact you can make, the more community that you can build
Right.
by just shifting your mindset to that. So where I started, fresh out of college, was I knew this from the beginning, because even when I was in high school and stuff, I was training kids and stuff like that and doing workouts. But when I started my gym, I said, look, I've been through the ranks. I've been to a dozen different gyms. I've played collegiate football, so I've been in a strength and conditioning environment. My older brother was a Division I athlete. My younger brother is going to be, has Division I offers. I go and meet these coaches. I see, I'm going to build something different. I'm going to build a gym. I'm going to build a private training facility that isn't focused on the training. I'm going to tell people, I don't care how fast you get. I really don't. I don't care how strong you get. I don't, because that's the easy stuff, man. Joe Schmo down the street can help you do that.
Right.
It's not that hard. YouTube it.
Right.
What I'm going to help you do is I'm going to build your mindset, build your character, build your community, help you get happier, help you keep that success, help you go through life challenges, resilience, set goals for yourself. I'm going to help you do all those things. And the more that I did those things, which there's no money attached to it, there's no price attached to it. This isn't normal. So I can't even compare it to another program and say, well, look what they're doing and they're bigger and better, and look what we're doing. I wouldn't be able to have a leg to stand on. I had to compare it to, this is just where we're going to become trailblazers, right?
Yeah.
So taking that approach, starting out, I mean, I had 2 kids, 3 kids. I'm 23 years old, fresh out of college, like new area. I don't know anybody. Like, I got a couple $100 to my name, and I'm living in your mom's salon. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, let's go.
Yeah.
But I was single and I was hungry. And we started there small, subleasing a space. And then year over year, I started to niche down into who is Upward Human Performance, or at the time it was called Bright Athlete Performance. Who are we? What are we doing? Where are we going? How do I want to operate? How do I want to provide opportunity? How do I want to provide jobs for people? And so I sat back and I said, well, look, I'm going to have to give a lot of myself. I'm going to have to give a lot of my time. I'm going to have to over deliver a ton. I'm going to have to read books on entrepreneurship. I'm going to have to read books on marketing. I'm going to have to become a business owner. I'm not just a coach anymore. I'm not just a trainer. I got to run a stinking business, man. And there's governments. It's sometimes I'm like, I hate it, but it's necessary. And over the last 4 years, we've grown to the point where I can have a full-time head coach, right? I can have a full-time nutrition and assistant coach. I can have a full-time, general manager. I can have part-time coaches here. I can have an administrator here. I can build a brand new gym, right? We can grow, and I can provide for my family, and I can set my family up for success. And this is a 3,900 square foot small private training facility that has 105 clients. But we're able to grow, and we're able to build like that because of the fact that the standard that we set for ourselves is, based on our 5 or 6 core values. It's deliver with passion. You have to be passionate. If you're not passionate about this game, it ain't for you. If you're not passionate in the service, it's not for you, because we're helping people's lives. We're changing people's lives. We're helping kids, man. A trainer or coach can be a kid's biggest asset or biggest liability.
Right.
You can literally make or break whether a kid gets into a school or not, performs at that combine or not, has that confidence or not, right? More than anybody else other than their peers. It's peers, then coach, then parents, then teachers, or teachers, then parents. But it's peers, then coaches, because they're doing something that they're actually engaged in that stimulates them. So it's peers, coaches, then teachers, parents, and parents. So you're second on that totem pole of the impact that you can have on this person's life. There's no other job out there that you can do that. I'm sorry, there isn't.
Right.
And so you have to be passionate. You have to have a purpose. Why are you waking up every day as a coach? Why are you on the coaching floor? To have fun? It ain't for me. You're not on the floor to have fun. I hope you have fun, but that's not your purpose. Your purpose is to change lives. You have to get the job done. End of the day, my coaches, like, we joke about it, get the job done. Something comes up, we just get the job done. Got to stay up till 10, get the job done. Got to come in on a Sunday, get the job done. Which crazy, and I'm going to pause there for a second. Second week of November, unfortunately, actually back up a little bit. Second week of October, I found out that the person that I was leasing from, their lease was coming up. I had 6 weeks to move out. Now, conversations before was not supposed to be till the end of March 2023, so like the end of this month. But just so happens, miscommunication, and people have their own initiatives and whatever. I was told, 6 weeks. I'm like, okay. I have 3 full-time coaches. I support my family. I got a 1-year-old. Get the job done.
Yeah.
And I just put myself out there, did the work, save all the details. We found a spot. I had an investor come in who is a longtime mentor of mine. He came in, wrote a check. And 3 weeks, we built a brand new gym. Brand new from scratch. Everything new. All the equipment's new. The overflowing's new. Turf is new. Everything's new. Paint's new. Did it 3 weeks. Again, going back to situations are neutral. Neither good nor bad. Oh, this opportunity. It sucks, but let's figure it out. The only reason I was able to do that is because back when I was an intern in college, working for, this commercial real estate company, and I was a 21-year-old intern, first generation, right? Had no idea what world I was stepping into. Had to buy a suit 2 days before I started my internship, right? Let's go back there for a second. I was the first one there every single day. I was the best dressed every single day. I worked the hardest every single day, or tried to, in the small jobs that I had. I was the last to leave every single day. I was always asking all the VPs and executives, how can I help? How can I help? How can I provide value? What can I do for you? What can I do for you? Right? I remember wearing a tie, wearing cufflinks, walking in, and then, people being like, yo, you don't have to dress, you don't have to dress like that. I'm like, yeah, I do. Yeah, dude. Like, nah, bro, don't do that. Like, you don't got to do that. Yes, I do. Well, come on, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm making them look bad because you probably should be dressing like that. How you gonna let the intern outdress you and you a VP? I didn't care. I wasn't trying to show anybody up or be cocky. It was just, yes, I have to. And if someone asks, well, why do you? Because I need to keep my standard high. I need people to know what expectations to have out of me. I need to live this way because I'm not dressing for the job that I have. I'm dressing for the job that I want. I'm not operating in the place that I want to stay in. I'm operating in the place that I want to be.
Yeah.
And right now, fast forward to November of 2022, that same executive in that office on that floor who runs the whole show came in and invested in Upward Human Performance so that way we could build a new gym.
That's wild.
Right. So fast forward, 12 years about, okay. Yeah. And that investor came in and invested in my company.
Wow.
Because he remembered how I operated, and he knew, man, you're always going to be successful and I can trust investing in you. And here's also amazing terms. and also pay me back when you get a chance.
Yeah. That's wild.
Right. And so
Yeah.
those opportunities and that mindset of I'm always going to over deliver and I'm always going to look for ways to produce value and never expect anything in return. It took 10 years to see fruit of that. Not even that I was expecting it. Not even that I was like, oh, I hope one day. Like, no, it was just, this is
Yeah.
how I rock. And then it just so happens that I asked him to be my mentor. And then it just so happens that he came to me and said, if you ever need anything financially, you let me know. And then it
Yeah.
just so happened that I needed financial help and I let him know. And then it just so happened that he was like, can you drive to Boston tomorrow? I'll leave my assistant with the check.
Mm.
And I'm like, all right, bet. And so fast forward to March of 2023, our gym is blowing up like crazy. We're super successful, right? And my coaches are thriving, working. I'm providing jobs, providing opportunity. They're happy, they're stable, they're able to get apartments, they're able to save money, and we're able to change lives and have fun doing it every single day. And have
Yeah.
stability and have a real business, a viable business that, I'm not worried about it. And
Yeah.
as a business owner and as a coach now, I coach coaches. I mentor. That's all I do. I haven't trained a session in 3 months just because I looked at it this way. I love coaching. I love training. I love helping kids. But where I feel like I'm the best is helping leaders. And I look at it this way. Maybe my workload of athletes that I can train is 40 kids. But if I teach 3 coaches to coach 40 kids,
Mm.
now I'm indirectly coaching 120.
Yeah.
And if I can get my word out there and do podcasts like this and I can help people mentally, then I can coach thousands.
Sure.
And if I can have a business to support that so I have the time to do these things, then I can do that. And so now for me, I'm a coach's coach. I coach my coaches so that they can go coach the clients. I mentor people so they can go impact their clients and their people and have viable business. Because guess what, homie? If you ain't making money, you ain't doing this.
Right.
Or your wife or your husband or whatever is gonna be breathing down your neck like, come on, we gotta make this work, man. We got
Where
kids,
we
we're trying to
at?
buy a house, like let's go. So
Right.
we work in an industry where it's like it's like it's scary to talk about finances. It's scary to talk about like money. Is like it's like, oh, don't expect anything. And it's like, yeah, you'll be the same person 5 years from now, not in the industry anymore. You need to
Right.
charge. We charge high rates. We charge $75 for a private session. We charge $300 for a membership, to 500 to 600 to 1,000,
Sure.
because people are paying us for the years of experience and the years of time and the ability to give them guaranteed results in a guaranteed amount of time. And this is a necessity. And if people aren't paying for it, they're not going to show up,
Yeah.
right? Statistics just show Planet Fitness, on average, the average person on a Planet Fitness membership showed up 28 times last year. So that's less than once a month. Or that's like 2 times a month,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, well, no wonder why. They're not setting up for success. I don't care. It's a volume game. But private strength conditioning, we're not playing a volume game. We're playing an impact game. We're playing a value game. And for young coaches that want to get into a private place like an Upward, you got to come and be passionate, have purpose, get the job done. You got to over deliver. That's another core value. You need to over deliver. Do some and then do one more. Do some and then do a little bit more. Have a
Sure.
conversation and then follow up again.
Sure.
Right? Over deliver. You need to have faith through the process, right? And whatever that means to somebody, right? And then you got to be a family, because we're
Right.
brothers, we're sisters, we're coaches, we're all a family. We're gonna be there to discipline each other. We're gonna be there to praise each other. We're gonna be there to love each other. We're gonna be able to have difficult conversations with each other. Because I'll tell you if you're messing up, and I expect my staff to tell me that I'm messing up. I expect my clients to operate just the way they expect me to operate. It needs to be a
Yeah.
cohesive relationship like that. So, that's where we're at now. And our goal is that we have a second facility opened end of 2024, and then a third 2025. And, we can just keep pushing this mission out and helping these people, man.
That's awesome, man. I love that story about the it took me 10 to 12 years to get my return on that investment. I mean, that's fantastic, because I mean, that should give hope for a lot of people who may be in a situation right now, or maybe they've done work in the past for somebody that they feel like, that could, it's incentive, right? It's incentive. And obviously that's not why you were doing it. You know what I mean? You probably had no idea that, this would be the case 10 to 12 years down the road, but it is awesome that is the case. And I'm glad to see that, everything is flourishing now. I love those principles, love those core values. What I would like to do, obviously, as we wrap up here, got about like 5-ish minutes left. If you want to take the floor and just, kind of let people, all the listeners, obviously you got a ton of wisdom and you've got a, great way of articulating it. So if you want to just kind of, final words or whatever, for all those who are listening, who are interested in, obviously, whether they're younger, older, obviously you're coaching coaches, right? So some of the things that you just want to impart on them as we wrap things up here, Derek.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest thing is just never quit. it sounds cliche and it sounds kind of watered down to people out there, but just never quit. I was talking to my coach the other day and I was like, it's funny because if you really want to be successful in anything it is in life, just stay around, just stay around long enough. Just keep working
Yeah.
long enough.
Yeah.
Just never, just literally never quit. And it'll
Yeah.
happen if you approach it, right? Going back to situation or neutral, if you approach every circumstance, whether good or bad, as a positive, as a learning experience, and you keep that mindset and you just never quit, like, how can you not be successful? So, I just
Yeah.
tell people, whether you're younger or older, or they're in the industry, or they're burnt out, or they're getting out, or whatever they are, just never quit and always look for opportunities to grow and always look for opportunities to provide value to people.
Okay.
Always,
Yeah.
always, always,
No,
always.
yeah, no doubt. Well, Derek, appreciate it, man. Listeners, I already know you guys enjoyed this one. This was fantastic. It was obviously full of a lot of insight, a lot of wisdom. This is great, storytelling ability, obviously, but also a ton of information that I think everybody can pull away from this. So, Derek, thanks for hopping on. Listeners, we'll catch you guys next time. Derek, stick around for 1 second. We'll wrap up. But yeah, listeners, thanks again. We appreciate you guys. And Derek, all the best, brother.
And thanks, bro. Sick, dude. Yeah, you're good.